Okay. Alright, here we guys go. Hero is black. And time to enter the sandbox. Time to visit the merry-go-round. Time to enter Patzer's playground. Okay. So we have a French. Now it's actually a Sicilian by transposition. Okay, bishop e2, not exactly the most forcing move. Main move here would be d4 to control the center. Okay, black plays a6, so he's trying to get queenside expansion. I might prefer just to develop, but a6 is definitely a move. Similar to like what a-strict plays with the con. Okay, so white castles, knight c6, developing good. d3. Okay, so white's not exactly being too aggressive, kind of just putting his pieces on safe squares. Okay, so black plays this move b5, and already he's starting to forget about these guys, right? So it's not so much of an issue just yet, but I definitely would think that he should try to develop, knight f6 or bishop e7 or something. Just get his king safe, because I mean b5 is always going to be available in the position. I don't think he really gets anything out of doing it right now. Because again, if you don't have those kingside pieces developed, an attack on the queenside will just be met with a counterattack in the center. And notice how black will kind of be ill-prepared for that because, again, he has no pieces developed. So always make sure you try to complete your development before undertaking any sort of aggression on a wing of the board. Because again, a wing aggression is usually best met by a central break. And if you're not developed, a central break is hard to meet. Okay, so white plays c4. Okay, so what should black do here? Do you guys actually know what black should do here? This is not easy, because this position is rather non-standard. So you guys know what black should do here? Okay, well, what does white want to do? I kind of mentioned it a little while ago, but what does white want to do? So, like I said, white wants to open up the center. So what move for white accomplishes this? It's this move d4, right? So how can we stop white from playing d4? Higgs actually hit it right on the nail on the head. We actually want to take this pawn. It looks a bit odd because it seems like, oh, kind of like we're opening the center in a bit. But Higgs actually hit it exactly right. The idea is now after take, now white can't play d4. So yes, he has this half-open d file, but if we complete our development, we should be okay. So our next move should probably be queen c7 because we want to stop bishop f4 because that would be kind of embarrassing to get a bishop on d6. And then we'll probably play knight f6, either bishop e7 or bishop d6, castle, and we'll be fine. Because we can maybe try to plant a knight on d4 at some point, because that's where white has a hole thanks to him having played e4 and c4. But we need to start thinking about closing the position because, again, we're behind in development. And actually this move b takes c4 ensures that white can't play a move like d4 and open it up. But okay. So black plays bishop b7, which makes sense, but again, he's developing the wrong side. Again, notice this. 6 moves already and he hasn't moved a single kingside piece. And note that since he's played c5, b5, and a6, it seems very unlikely he's going to want to castle queenside. So, if he was playing castle queenside, like, these moves make sense, but notice how open he is on the queenside. So queenside castling is never really an option. Okay, so white takes, black takes, and a3. Okay. So, thankfully for black, white hasn't really taken advantage of the situation and tried to open up the center with a move like d4. Okay, so what should black do here? Well, it's move 8 already, and we still haven't moved either of these guys. So it's high time to move one of those guys. So either bishop e7, bishop d6, knight f6, but you got to move one of these two guys because you need to develop. You need to finish castling. So yeah, some move, some kingside piece move. I noticed a follower suggested both moves, which are not kingside piece moves. But yeah, you want to just play a kingside piece move. Okay, but b4. I mean, this is not a bad move actually, to be honest, but it's kind of symptomatic of black just not caring about his development at all. So it turns out that white can't really punish black for playing b4, but again, just as a rule, black should want to castle. Yeah, exactly. Higgs and I are thinking the exact same thing. Black needs to be very careful now. And again, this move is not bad. It's just he should be thinking about developing. Okay, so white plays a4. Okay, d6. Okay, so now black's made 9 moves. And not a single move with these two guys yet. This is getting a little worrying at this point, right? So again, a move like knight f6, and if e5, simply knight g4, and we can win this pawn. Because if bishop f4, we play queen c7, and again, we can just take this pawn next move. Okay, so d6, b3, so white's trying to develop his bishop on this diagonal. Knight f6, alright, hey! We did it. We did it. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. So obviously, this move is not something you want to play. For multiple reasons. One, it doesn't exactly help your development. But two, notice that white posted his bishop on this diagonal, and now all of a sudden you're weakening this entire diagonal. So if black wanted to challenge this bishop, what he should have done is played a move like bishop e7, and then castle, and then play a move like knight d7 and bishop f6. And that way he's challenging the bishop without weakening his king side. And also this knight, notice, is not very happy on f6 because this pawn on e4 kind of takes squares away from it. But on d7, you can kind of reroute it. Maybe reroute it to e5, target this d3 pawn. So this g6 pawn move is too weakening, especially considering that black is behind in development. He's still going to take at least 2 more moves to castle. Okay, knight d2. And again, white should be playing this move d4 and really just trying to blast this center open before black gets safe. But white's just content to develop, which is something he shouldn't really be doing because he needs to take advantage of what black's misplays are before black can correct them. Because, if black can get bishop g7 and castling in, he's back to being decent again. But he can't afford to be wasting time like this. So knight d2, bishop g7, knight c4. And now what should black play? Well, we've been harping on a certain idea for black for the past 7 moves. And what idea would that be? Yeah, castling looks good. Castling looks good. Okay, so did black castle? Well, no. He played d5. Okay. So black's king is in the center. And he's playing d5. Not exactly two ideas that are congruous with each other. Yeah, castling would have been fine. This is this is playing with fire. This is playing with fire. Again, it's not like losing, but again, he's not really playing, according to the needs of the position. Yeah, there's no reason he should be wanting to open it up when his king is still on e8. Okay, so capture, 93. Okay. All right. So now, what should black do here? I'm not tricking you guys. I'm not tricking you guys. This move is still okay. This move is still okay. But no. d4. So let me ask you guys a question. Is this move d4 a terrible move, an okay move, or a great move? Terrible is an understatement. Okay, well, what do you guys think? Is this move just all kinds of bad? Eight out of 10 for terrible. Okay, so it turns out that I've been misleading you a little bit, because this move is actually good. It looks really weird. This move's actually good, though. Can you tell me why this move is good? It looks really strange, but it is actually good. So do you guys know why it's good? So what's the real crux of this move? There's a certain square that is really important here. Yeah, exactly. So it does look horrible, right? Because this knight does gain access to this square, and you're creating this pawn, which is backwards on an open file. But there's one very important way that you can minimize the weakness of a backwards pawn on an open file, and that is to blockade that open file. And so this move d4 creates this very, 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 very strong outpost c3 that now his knight is guaranteed to get by force. And notice that if white wants to remove the piece on c3, then black gets a very dangerous passed pawn on c3 that's protected. So this looks like a positional mistake, but it turns out that since he's gaining the square c3 for his pieces, it's actually decent for him. So d4 was actually a good move. But of course, after d4, he should probably be castling ASAP. Yeah. So this was not easy. This was not easy because just on first glance, it looks like, giving c4 for the knight, you're creating weaknesses all over the place. But notice it actually does two things as well, right? What's opened and what's not opened. b2 is blocked, b7 is opened up. So in addition to creating this monster c3 outpost for his knight, he's also simultaneously making his bishop better and white's bishop worse. So it turns out this move positionally is actually very strong, even though it doesn't look like it at first glance. Okay, so white, accepts the free gift on c4, even though, again, it's not doing much. Okay, so again, he doesn't castle, but okay, he wants to get his knight to c3. Okay, so h3 and hallelujah, move 17, we got castling. All right, so thankfully, since white never played this move d4, black got this very nice bind on d4, c5, and b4, and all of a sudden black's better. So he castled, he got his pieces out, this bishop looks dumb, this knight's awesome, everything's going fine. course, it's not the end of the story, but black managed to survive his reckless play on the queen side. Okay. So knight h2, I'm not really sure what that does. What should black play here? Yeah, just every move try to castle. Can I castle? Can I castle? Yeah, so some move knight c3 seems obvious. And then if black takes, obviously you recapture with this pawn, get a monster square for this knight. If he doesn't take and plays queen d2, now you have the strong move knight e5. And now like queen d5 is coming, you got mate ideas, you're getting rid of this pesky knight, your bishops are raking the board, his bishops are stuck, you're going to move your rooks to e8, maybe do some rook lifts. I mean, this is crushing pretty much. This is crushing pretty much. So Higgs had the right idea, as did follower. Very good. Okay, so rook e8, not a bad move, but I mean, no reason not to plant the knight on c3 as soon as possible. Okay, bishop f3. So, again, a move like knight e5 would be good here. For example, knight e5, take, queen c2, queen c7, forcing something to happen on this diagonal. And now with g3 or something, this looks pretty good for black. But okay, he played knight b6. I'm not sure why he went backwards for. He should be going forwards with his knights, not backwards. I understand he wanted to trade this guy off, but as I mentioned before, this guy wasn't really doing anything too productive. And this knight doesn't want to be on b6, it wants to be on c3, right? So black's losing the threat a bit. Rook e1. Check. So he captures, capture, capture, capture. Okay. So now, unfortunately for black, he got rid of that knight that was going to c3. So now what should black be trying to do? A new stage. Yeah, exactly, Oni. Very good. Yeah. He created this whole nice outpost for his knight and then never used it. And he just exchanged his knight for the knight on c4. And his knight on c3 would have been much stronger than the knight on c4. So instead of giving me a move, what should black's plan be here? Because no one move is really going to make black's idea clear. Push the d pawn. Okay, well that just hangs a pawn. I can just take on g7 and take on d3. Yeah, so again, Higgs has the right idea. So you have to look at and notice what is white's weakness here? What is white's weakness here? Papa, please don't curse. But what is white's weakness here? Well, white's weakness is this guy. Because this pawn in and of itself is not enough. Right? Because it's going to be hard to push it forward without white being able to blockade it. But if black can target this b3 pawn, then he can kind of maneuver his pieces around so that white is forced to kind of babysit this pawn, and then he can start trying to generate that. So a move like queen to d7 maybe. The idea being to defend this guy and then followed by knight a5. And notice that the queen basically has to guard this pawn for the rest of the game. And then you can start bringing your rook over to e8. You can maybe play bishop h6, try to guard this d2 square. Maybe double on the e-file. Once you trade bishops, maybe penetrate with queen e2 at some point. And notice that the queen will have to safeguard this b3 pawn for the rest of the game, and this bishop is kind of shut out. Okay. But again, black should be playing with a plan here. And instead, okay, so black plays queen d7, which is good. Okay, so bishop d5, rook e8. Okay, good. Opening, getting a rook on the e-file. Okay, so black black actually is following the plan perfectly so far. And so what should black play here? Yeah, knight a5. And actually, not only is knight a5 good, this actually just wins by force. So do you guys see how this wins by force? It's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky. Can you guys see a line that might be very strong for white or for black here? Because black wins a pawn. Well, say I take on b7. Say I take on b7. Right? So it's tricky, right? Because knight b3, queen d1, knight a1, and I move my bishop, right? And now this knight's trapped, so it's tricky. Because if I end up losing this knight for nothing, then white has two pieces for a rook and may be able to get some chances with this a pawn. So d3 doesn't quite work because I can take on g7 and then take on a1 with check.
Check.
But Higgs is right. This move knight to b3 is actually the key. So it looks weird, but the point is, if you take it with the queen, then rook e1 check, knight f1, and now do you guys see? Now do you guys see what white does? Yeah, or black does? Yeah, very good. Yeah, queen f5. And now notice this bishop has no moves. This bishop is completely trapped. Can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. So black's simply threatening queen b1. And there's no defense to that. So even if you play a move like queen a2, I mean queen a2 just queen d3, but okay, even if I didn't have a queen d3, say I just play queen b1 anyway, take and notice again this bishop has no legal moves that don't hang it. So that would have been an instant win. And of course, the simpler thing is, okay, say he plays queen d3, now you simply just take on d5 twice. And now notice this is falling too, so you're just losing two pawns and these guys are unstoppable. Yeah, and again, all because this stupid bishop is stuck. So knight a5 just wins the game outright. No problems whatsoever. Okay, but even if say black thought that he had to capture this for whatever reason, it's still pretty hopeless, right? So even if he missed this idea of knight takes and knight b3 and thought that, you know, white could try this, you know, okay, say he takes. Okay, well, there's only a couple of ways he can defend this pawn now. Either queen c2, queen d3, something like that. So say queen d3. And now simply queen e4, and this pawn is not long for the world. If I move like queen d1, then queen e2, fork. And again, the sad state of this bishop means that this trade is basically forced, because again, you can't play bishop c1 because your queen hangs. So focusing on this weakness really paid dividends for black here. Unfortunately though, yeah, so queen d1, yeah, it's possible, but again, queen e4, and I don't really see what white's gonna do. Because I mean, again, now I can maybe play d3 and queen e2, and this pawn is really gonna be worth at least a piece. Okay. Yeah, I agree, Higgs. I agree. But especially when white plays this move queen d2, it becomes a little bit more obvious now, because now, okay, when you take this pawn, it becomes a fork. So even if you didn't notice that, like, you could take on b3, you know, these two moves that black played, queen d7 and rook e8, made sense. Basically trying to get his rooks to the open file. But the problem was, I think black made these moves with the idea of getting the rook on the open file without thinking about this pawn, which was the problem. Yeah, queen e2 is horrible, I agree. But black plays queen e7. So you see how black's whole idea was to control the open file, which is not bad. It's just knight a5 was much stronger at this point. Yeah, but exactly. Noticing that it ties down the queen makes sense, because then this is tied down and then this is tied down too, kind of by association. Okay, so let's continue. Knight f3, queen e2, and now unfortunately, do you guys see white to move and win? It's kind of simple, but this is part of the reason why you don't do these types of things. Yeah, so the move rook e1 just wins. So the problem is if queen takes queen, we have a little Zwischenzug, rook takes rook, check. And then bishop f8, now we take back the queen. And notice that this is, I guess, a skewer. And of course, if queen takes rook, we can simply take back with a knight. And we're up a queen for a rook. Yeah, intermezzo, sure. Okay. But this game would be kind of boring if rook e1 was played, so of course it wasn't. And he simply took the queen. Yay! Now we get a rook on the 7th, and things are okay again. At least as okay as they can be, considering he missed rook e1. So rook e2, rook b1. Okay. So knight a5. Okay. So now he's targeting it. A little bit too late, but better late than never. Okay. So take. Bishop c1. Okay. d3. Getting this passer going. King f1. Bishop c3. So now if this knight moves, rook e1 is mate. Maybe having like ideas of rook c2 and then d2 maybe. Trapping the bishop again. Notice that this bishop has not so bright a future. Okay, so he gets his bishop out. f5, getting some space, trying to get his king out. So all these moves are decent. So now he's trading d3 for b3. Okay, but now this pawn is super strong. This pawn is super strong. So this wasn't a bad trade actually for black. So black's still doing fine. g4, trying to gain some space. Rook a3, so getting ready to take this pawn and getting ready to push this pawn maybe. Okay, attacking the knight, threatening c4. And so here, this is all pretty much equal because white has a perpetual. So this pawn is actually a trump for black, but white has a perpetual here. So this is all basically just equal. So take, and again, now white's kind of tightening the noose. But notice this bishop controls this key diagonal. So the idea is he's going to have basically like a knight perpetual. I'll show you what happens in a couple of moves, but
check.
So check, b3, getting ready to push, but again, white does have a perpetual.
Check.
So check, check, and now this is the perpetual.
Check.
So check,
check,
check, and now black just has to play king f6, and then knight h7 is a draw. And neither player can really improve. Because if white tries to go for a win and you know play rook c8 or something, this pawn is just unstoppable. Right?
Check.
And black, for his part, if he tries to avoid the draw, well, bad things happen. Because, okay, the king only has 2 squares, right? It has here and it has here. So what's the problem with this one? Yeah. Yeah, he actually ends up losing everything. but in particular the bishop on c3 would be a bad thing to lose, right? So it gets worse. Yeah, Popeye sees stuff. It gets worse. You'll see what happens. But yeah, black tries to win, and now it's just bad news.
Check.
So check,
Check.
check, take,
Check.
check, and now
Check.
ouch. And here black resigned. So a very back and forth battle. But black definitely had the upper hand at some point. Then he tried a little bit too hard. The next thing you know, all his pieces fell. Yeah, he really did. And he played, and that move d4 was actually a very high class move. So let's just go back to that position real quick just to look at that. So he plays, oops, let me get rid of those arrows real fast. Okay, so he plays move d4 on move 15 here. And so notice again what this move does. Blocks this bishop, opens this bishop, creates a hole on c3 for the knight. Three good things with this move. Even though it opens up this hole on c4, it's actually a very good move. So it deserved a better fate. It was a very interesting game, I thought. So, okay, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Do you guys feel like you can do one more? And by the way, this was not ace rook. You guys want to do one more? Or are you guys tired? It's up to you. Okay, we'll do one more. This one's kind of quick, so it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, this one's not too bad, so we'll do one more, okay? Okay, so we're going to look at this from the white side. And thanks, Pat, for your help. Okay, so here we go. So we're looking at it from the white side. Got a Rue Lopez. Okay, a6. Bishop a4. b5, bishop b3. Okay, it's all standard stuff. Okay, h6. Okay. So this is a move you don't usually see in the Rue Lopez this early, at the very least. And there's a good reason for that. Okay, so what should white do here, guys? Yeah, exactly. So whenever your opponent wastes time with a move that doesn't look like it does anything, pretty much the standard response, if it's in the opening, is going to be to try to blow up in the center. Yeah, d4. And do you guys know what happens on d6? This is something that's very interesting. I hope you guys haven't seen this, because I think this is quite cool. Yeah, Popeye's seen it. Higgs has seen it. But for you guys who haven't, actually the best move here is actually to take. Bishop takes f7.
Check.
So do you guys know why this works? Do you guys know why this works? It's a little tricky, but once you've seen it, you probably won't forget it. So the point is, if king takes pawn, and now this knight is hanging. If this knight moves, queen d5 check, fork, and if pawn takes, there's the beautiful knight takes pawn.
Check.
And now the point is this knight is overworked, because if knight takes, the queen hangs. So if the king moves, you simply just take a knight. Now you're just up 2 pawns. It's a very beautiful idea. And d6 is a very, standard move. Like, okay, I'll defend my pawn. Yeah. So bishop takes f7 and d takes e5. Yeah, you can also play d takes e5 first, but bishop takes f7 is just more forcing, and I think it's prettier. But you're absolutely right. You can take on e5 first. So what Popeye was trying to say is this one, which almost transposes in a way. So again, if king takes, knight takes e5.
Check.
and it transposes, but you can actually take on f7 first, and it's kind of cute. So yeah, in any case, the moral of the story is we want to play d4 because black should have played a move like bishop e7 or something to complete his development. But now that he's at least 2 moves from castling, we want to exploit that. Okay, so c3, a little slow, unfortunately. Again, you shouldn't be afraid to make exchanges in the center if your king is castled and black's isn't. Okay. So unfortunately now this is just a normal Ruy Lopez position by transposition. So white can no longer really take full advantage of the fact that black played this move h6. So rook e1, bishop g4, h3, bishop h5. Okay. So what should white do here? So notice that black is trying to forestall this move d4 by pinning one of the pieces that defends that square. So what can white do here? Play d4 anyway. Okay, so how does that work? How does that work? So say I take. Yeah. No, you guys are right. You guys are right, but do you guys know how it works? Well, e5, you have to be careful. I think I can take that. So actually you have this move bishop d5 here. Point being that if something like knight takes, you can take back with the pawn.
Check.
And really ruin black's development. Because now he has to play a move like knight e7. If he plays knight e5, you just win a piece with pawn takes pawn. This knight's pinned. Yeah, no, Higgs. I will show that in a second. You're right, though. So something like this. So again, this is tricky stuff, but let me show you what Higgs is talking about. So the point is, if pawn takes pawn, well, then black, or then white, then black could take, and you'd have to take with the pawn. And okay, I mean, this is okay. But, I don't know, I'm not sure you necessarily want to weaken your king like that. Because now probably, I guess black might queenside castle? But, I mean, this is still fine. This is still fine. But I think bishop d5 is slightly stronger. But like Higgs was saying, so if he takes first, queen takes, and then exactly right, if pawn takes, now e5 is strong. And kind of the same thing. So the idea is you're hitting this, and you're hitting this. And if he takes, then again you win a piece because this is pinned, and you play pawn takes pawn, and this is hanging at the end. So yeah, this is what Higgs was referring to. So again, don't be scared of ghosts, and grabbing the center is usually a good idea. But okay, so white played this move g4 instead. Again, I don't really recommend weakening the king like this just to unpin the bishop. Because actually, if you notice, the bishop is actually decently happy on g6 because it targets this pawn. And eventually, black will play this move d5. And white might feel a little bit of the effects of having his king be unsafe like this. So, okay. So now, black makes a bit of a crazy move. Takes on g4. So this often looks scarier than it actually is. But you have to keep a cool head about you because, you know, if you panic, it can become dangerous. So again, this is a bit of a move that's ghostly. But white should be able to survive this quite easily if, again, he just keeps calm and figures stuff out. Because there's actually some very cool stuff that white can do in this game. Okay, so taking is of course correct. Take. Okay, so now we've won a piece, but we've lost 2 pawns, and we have no pawn shelter for our king. Okay, so the question is, what should white do here? Yeah, so the reason why this attack should fail is exactly right. It's a one-piece attack. It's this guy. It's going to be hard to get this guy into the game, because notice the knight defends the key squares. You know, you can get into the game by f6. So maybe it's a 2-piece attack at most. But notice this knight's going to take a while to get around because this square is covered. So if white didn't have this move c3 in, it might be a bit more deadly. But it's going to take a few moves for this knight to get around. And this bishop's going to take a while to get into the action somehow. So because black doesn't have enough pieces in the attack, white can rebuff it fairly simply. So do you guys know what white's best move is here? This is actually tricky. This is actually tricky. So it seems like white should want to try to get his pieces out, right? Because if, you know, just by sheer majority of pieces, he should be able to rebuff the attack. But the right move is actually this move, bishop d5. And the point is, and this is very, very clever, that this move actually forces bishop d7. Do you guys see why? So say black makes the more natural move and plays queen d7. Now do you guys see how white wins? Well, we got a little tactic brewing. We can take and take. And now notice, we're attacking his queen and we're attacking his bishop. So if he takes our queen, we take his queen. And if he takes our knight, we take his bishop. And again, we're up now, what? A full piece? A full piece for a pawn and absolutely no attack whatsoever. And notice that this bishop pins this knight. So, you know, if he moves the knight, for example, we just take his rook, get his queen completely out of play. So this move bishop d7 is forced. And if we can force this move bishop d7, then, I mean, it's quite clear that black has no attack, right? Because now we just play d4, like Popeye and Higgs suggested, even d3, just get our pieces out. You know, knight a3, knight c2, knight b4, bishop e3, whatever. And everything's fine. Again, though, a hard move to spot because it's very paradoxical. Like, you know, you're moving the one piece that's already out and on a good square, and you're moving it to, you know, a weird square. Like, it seems weird. But again, there's a very specific tactical reason for it. Of course, as we can expect, white didn't notice any of this. Again, it was difficult to notice, so I don't really blame white, but he played rook e3. Okay. So, this move makes sense to a lot of amateurs because they're worried about this knight. They want to try to unpin it. And he noticed that, okay, if I move this queen, then the only square I can move to where it's safe is e2, and he didn't like that. So he wanted to give further protection to the knight. If he wanted to do this, he probably should have done it via d3, and then knight d2. Oops, those are both bad arrows. Knight d2. And then feel free to move the queen maybe to like g2 or something. But okay. So again, this move is not the end of the world, but it's probably not white's best choice because this rook is a bit awkward on e3. Notice how it blocks in this guy, for example. and that might become important. Okay, but again, not the end of the world. Okay, a5. Okay, so obviously black has no grasp of what he should be doing in this position, because this move really has no bearing with what he's trying to do with attacking on the king side. I don't even know what he's trying to do here. So I mean, he's almost forcing, yeah, he's forcing white, exactly, Popeye, exactly. He's forcing white to make a good move. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So again, bishop d5 works, by the way. Same things work. Doesn't matter that the rook's on e3 or e1. But if he's not going to see it once, he's not going to see it again. King f1, okay. So now this is where white starts getting into trouble. So yeah, queen f1 does look good, because as Alex correctly notes, you're attacking this guy, don't forget, as well as helping to defend the king. Yes, rook a6 does become an option, it's true. You're right. But then I have queen f1 maybe. Okay, so I'm not really sure why he played king f1, but if he was going to move his king, it makes more sense to play a move like king g2. So it looks like you're kind of going from the frying pan into the fire, but actually what you're trying to do is trying to give your pieces a way out. So now maybe he wants to try to play queen h1, queen h2, and queen g3, and just try to solidify his king side. But by playing king f1, not only does he not solidify his king side, he also kind of interrupts the coordination of his pieces. And this doesn't actually help white defend any better. Because, I mean, does he really want his king on e2? I'm not so sure. Yeah, he's trying to go here. Again, I'm not so sure he wants to be there either. Yeah, king f1 doesn't do anything. I mean, if anything, he should at least develop pieces, rather than moving his king from a square where it was actually relatively more safe. Or at least as safe. Yeah, exactly. Very true. Okay, so b4. Not sure what that is, but okay. All right. Well, hey, third time's a charm, guys. Better late than never. Okay, but yes, rook a6. So this was an additional option. So it's too bad we didn't see queen d7, and then maybe he would have taken on c6 and taken on e5. Although there's knight, or there's queen b5 there, but then maybe c4. I don't know. So just quickly, I was just looking at this, and then take 95, and then if queen here, you have
check.
c4 maybe, and then again if take, you can take here. So maybe that works. But anyway, so after rook a6, white played queen e2. Okay, so he's hitting the rook. So black defends. Yeah, there was queen a6. Yep. Okay. d4. Okay. So this move, unfortunately, is not the most well-timed move, because this pawn is actually hanging, right? Black has 2 attacks on it. And notice white actually only has 1 defender, not 2, because this is 1, but this isn't really 1, because it's pinned. So this leads to trouble. So he's trying to get his pieces out, but unfortunately, he can't be hanging pawns to do it. So do you guys know what maybe white should have done here? It's not easy, actually, at this point, because white's wasted 2 or 3 moves doing a lot of nothing. Yeah, so d3 is possible, but I actually kind of like the move. Again, it's a little weird, but I kind of like the move a3. Idea being that I just want to take a bunch here and play knight a3. It's actually tough for black to meet this, because I'm threatening pawn takes pawn. And he can't really take back because the rook's hanging. So I just want to get my knight to a3. Yeah, it looks weird, but it's hard for black to actually meet it. Can I explain why queen b5 sucks? I will definitely get to it, because I know you guys suggested it. So queen b5 definitely doesn't suck. But I can defend this knight, obviously. Yeah, exactly. That's the real key. Black actually doesn't have a legitimate threat unless we allow him to have one, which is what d4 does. Yep, no problem. Yeah, queen e5 does not suck. But again, I can play like bishop d7 and I'm not really sure what you've accomplished. Because have you really gotten any closer to getting your pieces out? Not really. And now maybe I have some knight discovery that's annoying, like knight d4 maybe, with the idea of knight c2. And if you play queen d3, I have bishop b5 maybe or something. But no, it's not a bad move. But again, it's kind of like a one move threat, and it doesn't really help you. Yeah, so queen c4 is possible too. But again, I'm not so sure you want to take on f7, just because it kind of leaves your pieces, like, I'm not sure you want to open the f file, is the thing. So, okay, if I defend this guy and you take on f7, like, is that really helping you? Yeah, and also I have knight d8 too, but I'm not even sure that I want to defend this necessarily, because that probably helps me more than it helps you in a way. But yeah, knight d8 also defends as well. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to the game. So d4 obviously is a big mistake. Because, like I said, it just hangs a pawn, and actually white's probably going to have to sacrifice the exchange back because of this pin. Okay, so black took on c3, took on c3, took on d4. Alright. So here he should probably just bite the bullet, take on d4, and after knight takes d4, just like sacrifice the exchange, basically. So like after take, queen d3, take. And here, notice that we still have two pieces for the rook. And we're threatening like stuff like this, so white's probably still better actually. Because now we're getting our pieces out soon. We're gonna play here, we're gonna play here, get our bishop out, get our rook out. So we're probably slightly better. I mean, it's tough because black does have 3 extra pawns. But if we can make our bishops pay, it's tricky. It's tricky. Like we maybe play bishop b2, stuff like that. But that was white's best hope. But unfortunately, he plays queen b5. Now this rook on e3 is hanging. So rook on e3 hangs.
Check.
Take. So notice that white is now threatening bishop b7. So has to take.
Check.
Okay, so here. Okay, so what's the material like at this moment in time right now in this position? So white has 2 knights and a bishop. Black has 2 bishops. So white's up a piece. Okay, but what's the pawn count? So right now white has 4 and black has 7. So black's up 3 pawns for a piece. Currently, at the current state of position. So probably black's slightly better here. Because this pawn is actually somewhat fast. You know, black's next 4 moves could easily be h5, h4, h3, h2. And it's not clear what white does to stop that. But okay, it's clear that what black should do in this position, obviously, is to make sure that white can't play this move. So right now, black's in check. So he should probably block the check with bishop d7, force the queen to move, and take the f-pawn. That's what black should do. Yeah, exactly, Higgs, exactly. Because these pawns are quick. Okay, but he played this move king d8. Okay, and now comes an incomprehensible part of the game. Because just look at these guys. Just look at them. Just look at them. Okay, so obviously the knight's hanging, so he has to move the knight. Fair enough. Okay, so he moves the knight. Okay, knight d4, fine. Okay, just notice these guys. Just notice them.
Check.
Okay, so a check, fine. Okay, attacking the queen, fine. c5, okay, attacking knight. Notice, by the way, at any point he could have played this move with check, right? So okay, he's been attacking things the whole time, but just notice. I mean, he could have interpose this move ef2 check first. You know, I mean, no reason not to, right? But okay. So he's attacking c5. Okay, knight e2. Bishop e6, okay, still attacking stuff. Again, notice he can play ef2 check at any point. Doesn't wanna, it's fine. Okay. So again, ef2 check seems reasonable. Okay, now he doesn't attack anything. So, I mean, it seems like white can simply take on e3. But I think both players just simply forgot about these things. Because notice, I mean, okay, maybe black realized, oh, now I'm hanging this pawn, so I want to defend it. But, I mean, this is check. He can take it and then play queen c7. Yeah, exactly. But check is more important, right? Okay, but here's the really odd thing. So, okay, black, okay, maybe he forgot about this pawn. But so did white. So did white. I don't understand what happened. Like, they just forgot this existed. So, okay. Okay, maybe black just forgot. Fine. But how can white forget? This pawn is deep in his territory. He needs to get rid of it. So obviously he should have taken the pawn.
Check.
Okay. Black finally is drawn to that side of the board. So it's check, obviously. Take. Alright. So finally he took. Better late than never. Okay, attacking the knight.
Check.
Check. Okay, so what's going on here? So it's 3 pawns for the piece. Officially now. These guys are not the healthiest pawns. But neither side is really developed. It's weird to say that on move 28, but I mean, look at this and look at this. I don't know. It's hard to find a game where on move 28 neither side can really be said to develop. Both sides have really only developed their kings and their queens. That's it. This is move 28, guys. Move 28. Higgs would already be in a king and pawn ending by now. But amazingly enough, this position is about equal. Because again, white's up a piece, but black has these pawns to kind of counterbalance it. So really anything can happen. Really anything can happen. So knight d2, bishop g7,
Check.
defending the pawn, check. Okay, so let's ask this question now. Where should the king go? Where should the king go? White is toast. No, white's okay. White's actually okay. Don't forget, white can force a trade of queens if like queen f7 pop high. So, it turns out that white actually wants to go this way. Yeah. So king g2 is actually safer. And we'll see why in a moment. We'll see why in a moment. But yeah, it's closer to these pawns, but it also actually will get more help from his pieces. And you'll see why in a moment, because this gets interesting. Okay, white plays here, which I think we can all agree is not best. I think we can all agree this one's not the best one. Okay. So black plays d5, and now this is getting dangerous, because now this is a bit of an issue. A big bit of an issue. Okay. So white plays king e2. Okay, so notice what just happened. He played king e3 and king e2. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right, Popeye. So this is coming even. Queen g3 is actually probably even stronger, right? Queen g3 probably just wins almost? Close-ish? It's close. But yeah, queen f4 is good too. Everything's good. Okay, so he plays king e2. He's like, oh, safe now. Okay, Okay, c4. Trying to fix this pawn on c3. Okay, queen a3, and now black has a win here. Or is winning, rather. Not like a forced win, but black is better now. Because this pawn is a problem, and black has lots of pressure on this king. Okay, g4 is a good move. Stops knight f3 ideas. Knight f1. Okay. So do you guys see a real strong move for black here? So I guess he wanted to stop like queen h2 check. But there's a problem with this move. Big problem with this move. Yeah, very good, Higgs. Very good. Yeah, queen e5 is pretty much going to decide matters because of this. And if the knight moves, then like this is going to be pretty quick. And the king just hides on g8. Yeah, very good. Yeah, g3 is strong too. I think that's actually what black played. Oh no, okay, he took on e4. But yeah, g3 is strong too. But queen e5 just kind of ends things quickly. Okay, so take, which actually helps white. Because notice now, notice these pawns. Pretty good, right? These pawns. Not so good. So actually now he's helping white defend himself. Because now notice this file's opened for potential defense. You can move the bishop here. All of a sudden, white's pieces can maybe get back into life. Okay, so rook b1, getting some life on the b file maybe. Bishop e3, okay, that's good. It's good, right? Because now, what's white's threat? What is white's threat? This one should be obvious. You got a king and queen on the same diagonal. Always look out for potential pins. Yeah, so white's threatening bishop b6. And of course, this being Patzer's playground, do you think black made a single move to stop this? I mean, do you think black made a single move to stop this? Well, if you guys have visited Patzer's playground before, you guys know the answer is, of course, he didn't. Play g3. Now, do you think white saw it? I think white saw it. See, if you guys know Patzer's truly, you would know the answer. And the answer, of course, is that white did see it. And you know why? It's because he played bishop e3 with the sole purpose of playing bishop e6. The funny thing is bishop e3 is actually a very good defensive move. But the only reason white played it is to threaten bishop e6. So it turned out it was actually a great thing. And so, of course, after g3, he did play bishop e6. I will prove it to you. Yeah. So, and I'll just show you the end. It's kind of cute. g2.
Check.
Capture. And this is actually mate in 4. Do you guys see the mate in 4? A little test. A little chess tempo test. Because, you know, I mean, this pawn, knight check, queen, double check, I don't know. So I'm pretty sure Pat sees it. But do the rest of you guys see the mate in 4? This is a pretty simple mating pattern, so. It's basically a variation on a staircase mate. Yeah, Papa is correct. And queen takes a5 probably mates 2, although maybe the king can go out this way. Queen c5 is much simpler. Yeah, okay, so queen c5, I think that's what he played, right?
Check.
Yeah. And so black resigned here, actually. But the point is, if king here, so king only has 2 legal moves, here or here. So if king here, check.
Check.
Okay, king has, again, 2 legal moves, here or here. If here, just mate.
Checkmate.
If here, then of course, just here
Check.
and mate.
Checkmate.
And then,
Check.
and then, yeah, that's it. So white won. Alright, guys. So that's what happens in the Patzer's Playground.